Hi guys, Philip Good here. I'm a relationship coach and a love after abuse coach, and I've been fortunate enough to be married to my beautiful wife Eileen for 48 years. The subject of this video is how I broke the cycle of violence, and you can too. Well, for me, I sustained quite severe violence as a kid. For example, when I was 12 months of age, I was knocked out of a high chair by my dad, sent flying across the floor of the dining room and kitchen, ending up at my 18-year-old auntie's feet. So I didn't discover that until I was about my late 40s, 50 odd, and my auntie, who witnessed that abuse at 12 months when I was 12 months of age, told a brother of mine when I was around about 50 odd, or maybe a couple of years later. Anyway, yeah, it was. I used to think to myself, what would I be thinking? Knocked on the floor, looking back at my father, my protector, my provider, and all the rest of it. The person, along with my mother, who's supposed to love me most in the world. What would I be thinking, even at 12 months of age? And what would the mindset of my father have been to do something like that? And quite often, people that abuse, like with violence, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, time abuse, racial abuse, quite often they've experienced some sort of abuse themselves as a kid, as a child themselves. And so it was with my dad that I found out, that I discovered that he had been abused, physically abused with physical violence by his mum when he was a little boy. And he used to run to his dad, my grandfather, for protection against his own mother. So that's something that I discovered, and it goes. And quite often abusers have been abused themselves and continue that on into their adult life. But this is where it can begin and end, in the sense that you have two choices, like I did as well. My father did, and right back through generations. Who condone and continue the violence would have the same option. Two choices. One, to condone and continue the abuse, or say, enough's enough, that wasn't good enough. I didn't like it as a kid. I'm not going to do that to my children or to my spouse, my partner in life when I'm an adult and get married. So you have those two choices. Anyway, that was my experience as at 12 months of age. Fast forward to when I was 8, and I saw my dad knock out my mother with one punch after an argument. And quite often the arguments were the same things over and over again. Arguments about money or lack of. My father had the money, but he wouldn't give my mother any more housekeeping money. Or it was about the in-laws, my mother's parents, and that they were religious, my father wasn't, and so on, and all that type of thing. So yeah, so that was something horrific to witness as an 8-year-old. My brothers um, were aged between about five and 8, and we all witnessed that. Our mother lying motionless on her back on the kitchen floor, and my grandfather came out of the lower bedroom, and he was in his 70s at the time, and my father had been drinking, and obviously the drink, alcohol, just inflated my father's anger and rage even more. And anyway, my grandfather came out of his bedroom and sat down beside my mother, who was not completely out; she was motionless. And my grandfather, looking down at my mother and trying to support her and stuff, looked up at my father and said, "What have you done now, boy?" And the next thing he said was, "Now, I've never ever forgotten this, is never let drink rule your life. Never let drink rule your life." And this goes for the same with drugs as well. Anything that takes you away from any normal thinking, rational thinking in your mind, or can make you more irrational in your talks in terms of your behaviour. Don't go there. Don't do that. Particularly know if you know how it makes you react as well, which you obviously do. You certainly do. Everyone knows. If alcohol makes them aggressive and violent, don't do it. Stop it. If drugs makes you angry and inflates your anger and rage and that, stop it. Don't do it. Particularly if you're in a relationship with a lady, or whether it's a man or a woman, and you've got children involved, don't do it. Just stop it dead in its tracks. So fast forward again to 11 years of age, and my grandfather had just died. He was 75, nearly 76. He died at a heart attack and so on. And after that, my father got more and more out of control with his drinking and so on, and then fighting, arguments, and aggressive behaviour, basically. And when I was 11, my mother had gone upstairs, got one of the old man's guns out and loaded up, and was pointing at him, ready to shoot him for all the times that he had abused her, how he knocked her around physically, how he treated her emotionally. He wasn't emotionally available in terms of love, joy, and affection. In terms of time, he was never around as a husband. He was always down at the pub or down at the Returned Servicemen's Association with his mates. So rather than spending time being an active and participating husband with my mum, he was off with his mates, drinking with his buddies and so on. And he was the same way with us kids. We had 6 kids, so I'm the eldest of 6. I had 3 brothers and 2 sisters. And like I say, at the same time, he was not a present dad either. He was off with his mates drinking and so on, so he was never around, basically. And if he was around, there was always be tension, stress, arguments, and fights. That was what my life was like. And I can remember sitting down in a classroom when I was 8 years of age, and after a horrific fight with my parents, and looking around the other kids in the classroom and saying, I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what their reality is like. I wonder what their reality is like. And so I got to the stage of thinking that what happened in my house, fights, arguments, physical fights, and all that tension and stress, I thought that was the norm. That was the way everybody's family life must have been. But of course, as I learned later on, it's not the norm. It's totally abnormal, right? So anyway, fast forward again to I was 17. And quite typically, quite often we'd come home from high school, my brothers and I, we'd order a car together. And that was another thing. My father lined us up when I was 16. Other brothers were 15, 14, and 12. And what my father said, just let you know, if you want to buy a little car, you save your money and buy a car yourself. And also make sure you can afford to put the fuel in it, service it, get it registered, tyres and the rest of it, because I've got no money for you. You do it, you're on your own. Do it yourself, which we did. Anyway, when I was 17, we came home from high school, dropped our bags down, and more often than not, my father was on where he worked. He was on a 7 to 3 shift. He's either on 7 to 3, 3:11, or 11 to 7. This particular day, he's on 7 to 3 shift. And he had an argument going on with my mum and dad and stuff, which was the norm. And of course, me being the eldest, like I'd always had done, I'd always put my 5 cents worth in. I knew how to press my father's buttons, so take the argument and the emphasis away from my mum and onto me, right? So she didn't run the risk of being hit. I'd take the hits if necessary, rather than her or my siblings, for that matter. And anyway, there was argument going on like it normally did, and I put my 5 cents worth in, and then all of a sudden, the argument came around to me, and then seemed to subside and quieten down after a while. And I thought, oh, well, this is good. This is over, right? And I was sitting in an armchair in the lounge room, and had a newspaper up. And my father come in. I just think he was going past, but he actually stopped, and he came flying over over the top of the newspaper and hit me 4 times on either side of the head. Bang, 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 bang. And didn't have any effect on me, though. To his amazement, he stepped back and started rolling his sleeves up, taking his top teeth out because he had one plate in and so on, taking his watch off and all the rest of it. And anyway, I just calmly, it didn't have any effect on me, like I just said, and calmly folded up the paper, put the paper on side, and said to my father, "What did you do that for?" Real calm, like ice cold calm. Never felt any pain at all. Didn't affect me. Having said that, I was a rugby league player, so my father taught me how to tackle really hard, use my shoulders, and I was a tough dude on the rugby league field, and knew how to tackle and really pummel somebody. So in a legitimate way, of course. And anyway, so my father came to. I slowly got to my feet. My father came towards me took another punch. I dodged it, picked him up, and slammed it against the brick wall of our fireplace. And he rebounded off that onto the floor. And I was on him in half a second, and with my fist up like this, I was thinking, "Yeah, mate, you deserve what you're going to get. You're about to get, mate. I'm going to pummel you into the ground, right? I'll literally kill you with my own fists, and you deserve it. What you've done to me, my mother, my siblings, you're an absolute a-hole, mate. You deserve this." And I looked down into my father's eyes because the wind was knocked out of his sails. There was no fight left in him. And the thought that came from him to me was, all I could see was fear in my father's eyes, right? And the message was, "Oh God, I'm about to be killed by my own son." That's what the message that came to me was. And in that moment, a voice came into my head and said, "If you do what you're about to do, you'll be as bad as he is." I don't know whose voice that was, where the voice came from. It wasn't a voice I recognized. So in my heart, I was either God or Jesus, whatever you like to call him. That's what I believe those words came from. And so what effect did that have? It had the effect of stopping me dead in my tracks. In the background, my mother was screaming. My 2 youngest sisters were screaming. They're only 6 and 3. My mother was screaming out, "Get off him and leave him alone." That's what she was screaming out to me. She's one that was physically abused. I was. My siblings were. And here she was saying to me, "Get off him and leave him alone." I just couldn't understand it. I looked down into my father's fearful eyes and I got up and I walked away. At that moment, in that emotionally charged moment, I had broken the cycle of violence that had plagued my family for generations. What they say is, when you break the cycle like that through learning self-control, that it heals the abuse that's gone on in the family line right back to its inception, and also heals it forward as well. It's almost like a peg in the sand time. Time to stop. Enough's enough, right? This is it. This is a defining moment when it stops. I tell you what, guys, it certainly made a difference in in loving myself. I didn't fully love myself because I was emotionally scarred and shattered. My emotions were sort of all over the place, my feelings and emotions. And fast forward, I met my wife 5 years afterwards, wife that I'm married to now. I've been married to her 48 years. She's the lady she had forgiven her parents for the violence that she sustained. She forgave her parents Like she was severely hit when she was 16, forgave her parents when she was 22 by the time we met. And yeah, so I could see this lady when we shared our stories, and she told me hers, and I told mine to her. All I could see with her is the love that just came from her heart. It was just went out into the world type thing. It was amazing. I couldn't understand how could she be such a loving person when she'd gone through such horrific violence herself. But what I discovered, and it took me many years to discover this, there was a forgiveness, forgiving her parents and herself, that opened her heart up to love. And she had an ocean full of love in her heart. And I could see it. Everyone could see it. And you know what? I didn't forgive my parents, my father and my mother, for not taking us out of that violent situation. I didn't forgive either of my parents until I was 65 years of age. I'm about to be 72 now. That was only 7 years ago. So marrying my wife, she made me realize that I was worth loving. I was lovable. And she loved me, and that helped me to love me, if you can understand that I was good enough. I was good enough. I was worthy of love myself. And as a result of all this, the love that she shared with me, I came to learn to love myself. But what happened was the anger and the rage that I felt from my abuse as a kid still stayed with me. It was there. So, I could bring it out at any time at a bad moment. It was there. Although I could control myself, I learned to control myself. But the anger and rage I felt inside me was still there. And it wasn't until 65 years of age, and I saw the video, like I described to you in the first part of the video. When I saw this video, I was 65 years of age, like I said. I'd had 2 heart stents. I had my arteries cleaned out and 2 heart stents put in my 2 major heart arteries. And after that, I saw a video that was made by Louise Hayes of Hayes House Publishing. And it was about the abuser and the abused. And what she said in that video was, if you're an abused child, you've grown up now, you're an adult type thing, and you're trying to forgive your parent, the abuser, what you've got to do is walk a mile in the footsteps of the abuser when that person was a little boy or a little girl, and imagine what their life was like. Well, my dad was physically abused by his mum. And so when I discovered that, when I learned that, when I listened to the video, I totally forgave my dad and my mum. I forgave my grandmother, who I didn't know, who abused my father. And right down through the line, I forgave every one of those people that abused their kids, all the way down the line. So where does the forgiveness end? Whose fault is it? Is it anybody's fault? If you look at it, the abused becoming the abuser, it's really nobody's fault. But, like I said earlier in the video, we have 2 choices. If we've been grown up, if we lived in a childhood or we had some type of abuse, like whether it was physical violence, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, time abuse, racial abuse, we have a choice to condone and continue the abuse, or to say enough's enough and end it and stop it dead in its tracks, because that wasn't good enough. I didn't like it. I wanted something totally different. So I'm not going to put that abuse onto my children or to my wife. And with that mindset, and what happened in my life with Eileen, my wife, and my children. So my children have grown up to not know violence, to be totally ignorant of violence. And so their ignorance was Eileen and my bliss. It was pat on the back time. Because fortunately, our children didn't know the abuse that we both experienced. We'd made that difference. So what I want to tell you, that if you've experienced abuse as a child, it's important to get help. Not only to break the abuse, but to get back into self-love, and how important forgiveness is in creating that self-worth, feeling you're good enough, feeling you're lovable, that you belong, that you are a good person, you are a worthy person, and realizing that I am worthy. I do deserve love. And guess what, guys? Unconditional love is the only emotion there is on earth. And when we look at it, go back, we came into this life, we come in from the spirit world, unconditional love predominates there. When we leave this world, unconditional love predominates there. The challenge is to find unconditional love on earth. And in spite of abusive childhoods, you can create that unconditional love in your own life with yourself, your wife, your spouse, and your children, and make a difference. You relive your childhood, your abusive childhood, through the eyes of your own children, who are happy, who are loving, who are joyful. Now, guess what, guys? There's nothing better than that. So that's why I'm a love after abuse coach. Because after abuse, yes, you can find love. And I've done it. I found it with my wife. We both have. And it's great. So it would give me the greatest pleasure to help you change the way you feel about yourself. And so that you can go forward in your life, feeling worthy, feeling happy, feeling loved, feeling good enough, feeling like you belong. Because you do. You are an awesome being. You're an awesome person. I hope I get to work with you at some stage. I love all of you. It's been my pleasure to present this video to you. I hope it helps you. And if I can help you in any way, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to help you. Blessings, love and light to you. Bye.